Welcome back everybody to Motorcycle Live, the UK's biggest and best motorcycle show, and we're here at the BMW stand to look at some of the best new bikes for 2023. Now you might have been expecting a new GS. There's been a 1300 GS with a liquid cooled boxer twin out spotted testing. I've seen the spy shots too, but unfortunately no announcements here or at EICMA. And so I guess it'll be next year. But a couple of boxer twins that did get updated for this year are over here. So firstly, the R1250R Naked Roadster, largely the same. So the shift cam boxer twin is 136 horsepower still the same chassis, largely the same suspension and brakes, but it gets a lot of little tech tweaks. So you've got a new traction control and eco driving mode, new riding modes pro, you've got their top spec ABS Pro and their dynamic brake control as standard, new LED lighting all round, and it's got an adaptive turn-in headlight, and the front end and the rear end have both been redesigned. New LED indicators and a daytime running light as standard, USB socket as standard, emergency SOS as standard, and also it had a TFT dash before, but it gets this new Sport Core layout, which gives you all stuff like lean angles and that sort of thing on the screen while you're riding. Plus you've got a few new paint options. So we've got the triple black over here, which is quite nice. That's a paint job we've seen on the GS before. There's a grey one, there's a more sporty looking red, white and blue one. And so yeah, not a complete revolution for that bike, but some nice tweaks, especially if you like your tech. Oh, nice to meet you. How's it going? Exactly. Also for this year, the RS equivalent. So this is slightly more sporty, gets pretty much all of the same updates. But of course, on this version, you get the fairing, a little bit of wind protection. It looks quite sporty in this finish. And both models also have a single seat kind of seat cowl cover available. Maybe seems a bit optimistic for that style of bike, but if you're into riding solo, then it maybe adds a little bit of sportiness. Also getting an update for this year is the S1000RR, their super popular sports bike. Always gets good reviews, and I'm sure these little enhancements for 2023 are only going to make it even better. So we've got 3 horsepower more peak, a new geometry, they've flattened out the steering head angle a little bit, so perhaps a bit more stability back into it. Slide control that uses a steering angle sensor, so if you get the back end sort of sliding out, it'll let it go so far, and then when you reach the predetermined slide angle, the traction control or the ABS will kick in, so it'll let you power slide it or slide it with the back brake, but only up to a point. Plus you've got some new color options too. You've got Black Storm Metallic, you've got the BMW M colors, and then this one is called Style Passion in Racing Red, which is a fancy way to say red. Also, interestingly, they now offer a GoPro holder specifically for these bikes, so you can put it on the back there and have your GoPro mounted out back, which for someone who makes a lot of motorcycle videos like myself, you know, that sounds quite enticing. But I'll save the most stunning 2 bikes on this stand for last, and this is the M1000R. So this is the M treatment of their S1000R Roadster. Now the S1000R undoubtedly is a quick bike, but in terms of like the super nakeds like the Street Fighter V4 from Ducati or the MV Agusta Brutale 1000RR, you know, they make over 200 horsepower, whereas the S1000R is more like 165. So I guess this is BMW's response to that. They've put the engine from the M1000RR that we'll look at in a moment into this bike, and the result is a ridiculously powerful machine, well over 200 horsepower, and I think that makes it the most powerful naked bike currently on the market. There's lots of other little tweaks to the chassis and geometry, and there's lots of little tweaks to the tech. It's got things like a brake slide control and extra riding modes. It's got the winglets, it's got the fancy looking blue M brakes, but I think ultimately, you know, the big headline is that peak power figure, and that's what's going to sell a few of these, even despite the quite outrageous price tag. But also updated this year is the M1000RR, so that's the full-on sports bike version, and the first iteration of it was launched like a couple of years back. This is the new version, and it looks absolutely spectacular. I did like the sort of M Sport colors on the previous gen. It was white with the blue and red, but for this year, they've gone for like a naked carbon finish, and for me, that's the standout point of this bike, the stunning bodywork. You can see new winglets that they say give it more downforce. There's a brake disc cover at the front which gives it better cooling, but also helps with the aerodynamics. And in fact, interestingly with this bike, despite the fact that the power figures are pretty much exactly the same as the previous generation, and the fact that it's got extra downforce from those improved winglets that usually creates quite a lot of drag, this bike is so much more slippery because of the new bodywork and the new aerodynamics that it's actually got a higher top speed. So I believe it's something like 308 kilometers per hour up to 314. Not typically speeds that I find myself doing, but you know, still it's an impressive feat of engineering. A massive thanks for watching our videos from Motorcycle Live. I've made a playlist of the EICMA content and the Motorcycle Live, which you can click on right here, and that's got all the best bikes for the new 2023 model year. Many thanks. See you in the next one.